Hello Internet! Gino, aka That Pinguino, here again with another deep look. This time I'm taking a look at Threads of Fate for the PlayStation 1, and the reason why I'm checking this game out is because it has a very interesting narrative structure, kind of a dual narrative structure. At the beginning of the game, you can choose between these two characters, Mint, the tale of a spunky girl, and Rue, the tale of a mysterious boy. And depending on which character you choose, you actually have a pretty different gameplay experience and story experience. Each of these characters is searching after a relic called the Dew Prism. In Japan, this game was not called Threads of Fate, it was called Dew Prism. And so, this relic is said to hold incredible power, whoever gets it, yada yada. It's basically a MacGuffin. It's a reason for these people to adventure. So, the reason why Rue is adventuring is to bring his girlfriend/friend back to life. He has amnesia, he doesn't know where he came from, because he's a protagonist in a Japanese game in the late 90s. And so, one day, a person comes to find him, and finds him, kills his girlfriend, probably meant to kill Rue. And so he sets off on an adventure to get the Dew Prism to bring his girlfriend back to life. So the interesting thing about Rue versus Mint, each of them have different mechanics. X button is always attack, triangle button is a little different for each of them. But when you hold down the square button, each character has a completely different mechanic. Rue is a shapeshifter, so he can go ahead and transform into monsters that you kill. So right now he's a polywog. He's got different attacks and different sorts of abilities depending on which monster he turns into. Like a polywog can move over ground like that with no problem. If he's a human, he gets slowed down. If he turns into this plant, he can't move. So there are intrinsic movement benefits to changing creatures. Also, there are attack benefits, like polywog doesn't do as much damage as Rue does, and Rue doesn't do as much damage as that rooted plant does. So each of these different forms holds a function in terms of platforming, in terms of getting around, and also in terms of dealing damage. Now, the thing about Rue that's very consistent is that his physical attack is significantly stronger than Mint's, so he is more of a physical attack guy. He's also got this nice wide slash that he uses. It deals less damage, but sometimes, like I was just surrounded, it's nice to have that wide slash that'll take down a bunch of dudes. It's got jumping attack, nothing too crazy, and the whole game is this kind of weird. It's 3D, but like barely 3D. If you watch my Brave Fencer Musashi video, it's a lot like that, except it's even a little more confined than Brave Fencer Musashi. So right now, I should probably turn into a polywog. It's nice, the game actually pauses while you're transforming, so you have time to choose if you need a quick breather. Rue's polywog form's pretty good. As you can see, as I'm killing enemies, they're dropping items, potions, and stuff that'll heal your health or MP. So now I'm up to my first cutscene. There's a girl over there, and she's being attacked by bandits who are named Blood and Smokey. Oh, they're so good. They're such good bad thugs. Rue, in this case, let's see, gotta be careful or she might get hurt. Let's turn into a polywog and just float up to them because polywogs are non-threatening. It's just a polywog, butthead. Get him. Bite him. Come on. Hit someone. There we go. And now I'm in a fight. So, now let's transform. Let's show off some of Rue. So, I can transform into a tiger here. Oh, I'm doing a bad job with my tiger form. Maul him. I got this nice dash move, which is good. Hitting them. Let's transform into plant form. And there we go. Mixing it up against early enemies like this, like obviously you don't really have to think about killing the very first, if that's even a boss fight. I don't even know if you'd call it a boss fight. But as the game goes on, it gets a little bit more complex with whether you want to transform or not. I honestly, the first time I played through this game, I guess the only time I actually played all the way through this game, I spec'd Rue entirely for physical damage just because it's the only thing you can rely on with him. He always has his gigantic sword thing, and it's got good range and it deals good damage, so I didn't bother really transforming so much. It's hard because if you take a look, if you saw when I was selecting from the monster menu, you can only have 6 monsters stored up at any given time with Rue. So whatever the most recent monster is that you killed, it will push the oldest monster out of rotation once you kill it. So that means that as you are just beating enemies by moving through the game, you are messing with your combat options. Over time, forms that you might be very familiar with and might really enjoy will get pushed out of your rotation, and you'll kind of be stuck with maybe some shapes that you're not used to or aren't especially powerful. And so I found Rue to actually be significantly harder of the two stories. And also, he's kind of boring. Like, Rue, he comes up here. Like, as you saw, he was very cautious about saving this girl, Elena. He's very kind-hearted. He's very genuine. It's nice, but Rue is not necessarily the most interesting of people. His amnesiac background kind of makes him a bit of a cipher. Rue the Polywog. They do get some mileage out of her thinking he's a Polywog, but not a lot of mileage. But usually he's a person. He's a Polywog that can turn into a person. So, yep. Pleasure to meet you. Here's my family. So, Rue's looking for the relic. He's going to tell them about the relic. And then he's going to offer to help them with the relic. But I'm going to go ahead and jump now to playing as Mint, because just to get a sense of how different the game plays. So, back in 2 seconds. Alright, I'm back. So now we're taking a look at Mint. So, like I said, Rue, his whole reason for adventuring is bringing one of his friends, his girlfriend, back to life. Mint's reason for seeking the Dew Prism, seeking the relic, I think in the English version they just call it the relic for like almost all of the game. But Mint's reason for looking for this thing is that she is a princess, and one day she misbehaves so badly, well, she, I guess, misbehaves over the course of her life so badly that she has renounced her right to the throne. Her younger sister is put on the throne, and she is basically relegated to having no power. She's kicked out of her own home, and she wants to get this this relic to overthrow her sister and take her rightful place as queen and rule the world. So her goals versus Rue's goals, pretty darn different. Okay, and also her manner of attack when you hold down square, very different. She uses magic. So I'm going to go ahead and use white magic here, and hold triangle, and I get a rapid fire shot. If I go to blue magic, I get a different move, droplets. Each of the magics you unlock over the course of the game, you just have access to at all times. So unlike Rue, where you're cycling through all these different forms and all these different special attacks that come with the different monster shapes, Mint just has a set of powers to choose from at all times. I find her a lot easier to use as a result. Like, I know, after playing for a little while, I know which spells I want and I know when I want to use them. So it was a little hard with, like I said, it's a little hard with Rue to plan ahead, whereas Mint, you've always got the tools you've got. It's a matter of, like with Rue, you kind of have this really strong physical attack, so it's kind of like having a Bowie knife, and Mint is kind of a pocket knife. Alright, not a pocket knife, a Swiss Army knife. She's always got a bunch of options available to her. Also, she's got this cool jump kick that's pretty good. I found that over time, even though Rue does a lot more damage than her, she's not bad on damage without magic. And her magic is just a lot better than most of the things Rue can do. And another cool thing about Threads of Fate is that how these moments play out, each of the cutscenes is very different, well, ranging from not very different to incredibly different depending on which character you're playing as. So, Mint trips when walking in here, Rue walks in all cool, starts planning what to do. Mint's plan, this is perfect, I get to play a hero. And get even. Those guys pissed her off earlier. What are you saying? And then... oh, this is the best. Drop kick in the face. Oh, that's so much better than the polywog. Drop kick him again. Mint's go-to move is the drop kick. She drop kicks a lot of people over the course of this game. The freeze frame drop kick is definitely her go-to move. I like Mint's story a lot better. She curses people out and calls them idiots a whole lot. She is very stuck up. I don't know if you're supposed to empathize with her, but I just find her so much more entertaining than what Rue brings to the table that it's just... she's just so much more fun. Kick this guy in the face, hit him with my weird rings. Blast him with magic. I can't die, come on now. Blast with magic, just keep shooting. Okay. And there we go. Down goes the first boss. And they run away. I don't know if this is changing because of who is involved, or it's just that I beat the other brother first this time. But, yeah, playing as Mint is just... I find her pretty darn fun. And easier. But, yeah, so this game's pretty cool. The different perspective shifts, I think, are interesting. Like, the overall story of finding the Dew Prism and each of them achieving their goals is not... you know, it's pretty boilerplate JRPG sort of stuff. But how these two narratives thread, how these threads of fate intermingle is actually pretty interesting. Like, how each character sees different moments. Like, there are times when Mint sees things that Rue did not see. The bosses are actually a little different between the two campaigns. Some of the different allies and enemies you meet change depending on who you are. Your final encounter will obviously be different depending on who you're confronting. And also, I just want to show you one last bit. Actually, there are moments where Rue and Mint actually meet each other or see each other. It's not like each of them just become the main character of the story and the other character doesn't exist. Ostensibly, in this game, both of these characters are adventuring for the Dew Prism at the same time, regardless of who you're picking. So, before, no one was here, Rue just showed up and offered to help Elena and her family. Here, Mint shows up, and they're still hanging out. Mint shows up. Let's see. Rue will be here. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Young man. And there's Rue. So, Mint actually... let's see. Is she gonna talk shit about... Yep, he looks like a weirdo. Mint almost always talks crap about Rue in her head. Once she realizes he's her rival, she sets him in her sights as well as her sister. So it's pretty funny seeing Rue never sees Mint as a competitor or rival. Mint obviously is immediately confrontational. Rue in this case is trying to help out this family. Mint is just trying to get hers. But seeing the different ways that these two very different characters intermingle, seeing how the two gameplay styles differ and shift and change how you have to approach the same boss battles, and also how they tailor specific boss battles to each character, it's really cool. This game is available on PlayStation Network. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like 15 bucks. You should check it out. You can play through it probably in about 14 hours, I would guess, if you're really slow about it. Like, each half is actually a full game by today's standards, which is another thing that's pretty cool. It's not like you got 2 half games where it's like 3 hours each. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Threads of Fate's a really cool game. It's not talked about very often, but I think it's another Square classic, and I think it's worth looking at. So, hope you learned something. Till next time, peace!